This one's for my closers and sales managers as our guest. Adam Paul Taylor shares his findings from when he grew his recent sales team from $200,000 per month all the way to $1 million per month. And we go over topics like maintaining a higher frequency, how he reframed himself to want to do things he at first didn't, actionable steps for us all to take to see a higher closing ratio, and of course, sprinkling in a little bit of his intentions regarding the nomadic closer house, of which a lot surprised both the other guys and myself. So if that's intriguing at all, continue watching. Welcome back, guys. We're running another episode here with another very special person. Somebody who's I'd like to actually dive into a little bit more with regards to your background in being in CrossFit, rugby, then moving into managing gyms, suddenly jumping into remote closing, managing sales teams, and now running this whole nomadic closer house deal. Um, I want to start with for you, I guess what is your big vision? Why are you doing this big thing with making like being a nomadic closer much more convenient and accessible?
Yeah, man. So with regards specifically to the nomadic closer house, what we're really creating is what we would have loved to have had when we were nomadic closers, just on the road, closing deals from a laptop, traveling from country to country, which has, so I believe in life, everything has equal up and downside. There is nothing that has only upside. You just have to choose what is your downside that you're willing to live with, given the upside. And so the upside is, it sounds very luxurious, doesn't it? You're traveling to different countries, you're living in Cape Town for 6 months, you're living in Medellin, you're living in Bali and all these cool places. And all you need is your laptop and a good internet connection. Now, the downside can be that it's very difficult to build up a really good, solid network of friends, a really good social group who are all sort of on the same mission, on the same vision, have the same vision of the same values in life. And it's really hard to having to keep recreating that. And so, of course, if you live in a country long enough, you will get the chance to do that. If you're just hopping from country to country every 2 weeks, you're not, it's really going to be, you're going to meet a lot of airport staff, right? A lot of flight attendants,
Mm.
but not going to meet many people who understand what it is to be on the road and to be, you know, making a living through remote sales. Most people really just don't get it. So I used to start, if somebody was asking, what do you do for a living? I used to start saying, I sell pharmaceuticals. And they were like, oh, okay. I would just watch the conversation because otherwise I would answer and they would have more questions and I could just give them answers, right? So that said, for my journey, I actually started staying in hostels when I started becoming a nomad because I thought, okay, well, hostels are super sociable places. It's really easy to meet people. It's almost impossible not to meet people. But the issue that I had was they rarely had a really good internet connection. They rarely had a quiet space to take calls. And even if they did, people would be coming up and tapping you on the shoulder all day saying, hey, we're going on this hike. Hey, we're going surfing. Hey, we're going to this party. Hey, we're going to this festival. And you had to keep saying no. And it was like, oh, this sucks. Like the FOMO, right? So
Yeah.
then I would stay in a hostel and I would work at a co-working space. Now, that was better for work, less for socializing because people are kind of there to work. And whilst you might get to meet a couple of people, it's like, yeah, I got to get on the call. So it didn't really work out. I tried staying in Airbnbs. You're just staring at four walls all day on your own. So I would try staying at Airbnbs and then I would work out at CrossFit gyms to see if I could meet people there because they're quite sociable places. That worked okay, but then it's like people with 9 to 5s, they don't really get why you're working until 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night because you work US time zones, and they're like, this guy's crazy, like this, like he's a workaholic. I don't know, it just didn't vibe right.
Mm.
So then one day I was living in when I was living in Cape Town and I was staying in a hostel, working at a co-working space, and I was explaining this to a guy, and he said, "Oh, so do you stay at co-living spaces?" And I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Well, it's like a co-working space, but you live there." I was like, "Oh shit, that sounds really cool." So I found a really cool co-living space in Cape Town in Greenpoint. Amazing location, two big houses, pool in between, 18 rooms in total. You have your own room, your own bathroom, which was like a luxury for me at the time, right? Coming from hostels where you got like 12 stalls and shit. I was like, I get my own bathroom? Are you serious? You have a cleaning lady come in every single day. You know, they top up all the toilet paper, the kitchen roll, the coffee, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm living. And in that particular co-living house, I did find a really good, solid group of friends. We'll be friends for life. Like just kind of one of those vibes that just we all hit it off. But I never managed to recreate that. I stayed in a co-living place in Austin. Didn't really like it because people were kind of allowed to come to stay for 1 or 2 days. So it felt like, you know, people just passing through, felt like a hotel. And so we got to Medellin. I met up with Joel and partner out at Nomadic Closer, and we stayed in an entrepreneur house for 4 weeks here in Medellin. So it was 4 guys, 4 entrepreneurs, 4 week experience, loads of masterminds, networking events, mini masterminds at home, you know, helping solve each other's business problems, etc. And we're like, damn, this is pretty freaking cool. We're so well connected here now because of those 4 weeks. Big shout out to Tommy Geib who organizes the entrepreneur houses. There's nobody in Medellin that doesn't know Tommy. And so we were super well connected, set up with a great social network, great group of friends. And we were like, oh man, this would be so cool for closers. And so we were like, once we had the idea and we both had the idea. And then I think I verbalized it and Joel was like, I want to do that too. And then genuinely, it's not like we ain't got shit to do, but we kind of felt duty bound to do it. We were like, we can't have this idea now and say, oh, but we're busy. We got lots of things to do. We're like, nah, man, we got to do it. And so we did it. We made it.
Gotcha.
April 1st, April 30th, first season of the Nomadic Closer House here in Medellin. It's going to be amazing.
That's interesting, man. So, like, I know the idea obviously is making it so that a lot of similar-minded people get to literally live together, work together, spend time together in all kinds of areas. Outside of growing professionally, what else are you also wanting to, I guess, further develop and enhance for everybody that attends these types of meetups?
Yeah. Oh, man. So, one big thing that we're going to be doing with the guys is the Wheel of Life exercise. Have any of you ever done the Wheel of Life exercise?
I was literally just talking to Sean
Yeah.
and Sam before you popped in because I wanted to talk about that with you because I don't know what it is. So,
Hmm. Okay. So, the Wheel of Life basically, do you remember on the PlayStation with like Pro Evolution Soccer, and you would have a football player's like a soccer player's stats, and it was
Yeah.
like it looked like a bit like a web,
yeah.
right? So it was like a circle, and then if they were super fast, speed would be up here, but if they were like really shit technically, it'd be down here.
Yep.
And so rather than looking like a wheel, it would look like a bit like a web, right? Some things would be good, some things would be bad. And so the wheel of life is the same. And you have career, finances, family, relationships, spirituality. You have a couple of different checkpoints that, were they all to be 10 out of 10, would probably give you a pretty well balanced overall life. I know for a fact that 90% of closers out there are way up here on career. They might be here doing pretty well on finances, but they're going to be struggling in other areas. They will have been sacrificing in other areas because we are still swapping time for money in a sense in closing. Now we can leverage the amount of money we make per unit of time, but there is still an element of what swapping time for money. And so that resource time is still being allocated to career, to finances. But what am I doing on a conscious level every single day, every single week to enhance my spirituality, whatever you want to call it, my relationships, my social life? And these are the things that I know that I suffered badly with in the pursuit of the career and the finances until I made it. And then I was like, oh, that was a fucking waste of time. Right? Not necessarily a waste of time,
yeah.
but I was like, oh, so the numbers on the screen have gone up. Cool. Well done, Adam. Like, now what? Right? But I'm fucking lonely. I don't have a
Yeah.
social, you know, I'm completely isolated from my family, all these kinds of things. And so the wheel of life exercise is something the guys will be doing coming into the house, identifying where they're lacking. And some of the guys said they had like huge epiphanies just through doing the exercise.
Hmm.
Going to be working with them throughout the 4 weeks to balance that out and also give them a plan as they leave the house as well. So like we're taking this super seriously in terms of what we want this to be is an inflection point for the guys. At the moment, we're all on some sort of a train track, on some sort of a trajectory, heading to some sort of a destination. And oftentimes that destination is not quite aligned with the destination we actually want. And so what we want it to be is a little flick of the lever in the train tracks of life to where it's an inflection point where it just shoots them off into a direction that's really going to give them some actual sense of fulfillment and purpose. And a lot of the guys have mentioned they struggle with consistency in these other health as well, right? Is one of the big ones of the wheel of life, that they struggle with consistency. And something that Joel and Harlan and I realized in our careers and that we're all very aligned on is that consistency becomes incredibly easy once you have a strong enough why. It's so easy. When I was playing rugby, I was a professional rugby player. I trained all the time. And people would say, you're so disciplined. And I like it never registered. I was like, am I? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it because I knew exactly why I wanted to do it, what I wanted to achieve, why that was important to me. And so I would just do the thing I had to do. And so that's what we want to figure out with the guys is like, why are you bothering? Why are you doing this? Why are you in sales with all its ups and downs, with its equal upside and downside? Why are you battling through this downside? And once they figure that out, everything else will fall into place. I guarantee it. And that's something we're going to be working with them throughout the 4 weeks on.
Yeah.
Adam, just on that, right? Because that kind of hits home for me a lot because I've been really thinking of why I'm in sales. Let's say there's one of our listeners who are actually listening to this podcast, but they're in a position where they can't afford to go to the nomadic house. What little bit of tips or advice would you give them to basically find out where they are in their own wheel and also what's their why?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Wheel of Life exercise, you could just kind of Google it and look at the and find the different areas. There's even, I mean, in the Nomadic Closer Academy, it's actually one of the modules. It's one of the first modules that everybody has to go through to figure that out. And then you just score yourself, and then you redo the exercise with where you would like to be. And it's going to highlight the areas in which you're most efficient. So if you score yourself as a 3 out of 10 on health, but you'd actually like to be like, you know, jacked and ripped and a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, well, then I got some work to do there. The next step then is the 7 layers deep exercise, which is literally sitting down and asking yourself, but why? Why do I want to be ripped and jacked? I don't know, because I think I'd look cool. Okay. That's the first why. Well, why is looking ripped and jacked and cool? Like, why do you think that would be cool? Well, I don't know. I think I'd probably get a little bit more attention maybe from the opposite sex. Okay. Well, why is that important to you though? Well, because I don't know, I'd be kind of cool to, you know, actually meet someone who I feel really attracted to, and I can see myself spending a bit more time than just, you know, a couple of hours once a week with. Why is that so important to you? Well, I don't know, because sometimes I feel a bit lonely, actually. Why do you think you feel a little bit lonely? Because I haven't really been spending the time outside of work to really look after my health and really look after my relationships. Well, why do you think you should do that? Because then I think I'd feel a little bit more better about myself. My confidence will go up and my sales calls will go better. See how we've gone from I think I'd look cool to I think my confidence and sales and everything, every other aspect of life will go up.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard exercise to do because you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. But Alex Hormozy has a really cool exercise where every Monday morning he sits down with his 85-year-old self and has a little chat to him. Have you guys heard him talk about that?
I
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Incentives are aligned. When you have these conversations with yourself, rather than with a coach, rather than with a therapist, rather than with a family member, a friend, or whatever, incentives are aligned. Nobody wants what's best for you more than you do. And so once you have those 7 layers of conversation with yourself, you really get to the core of some stuff and you really open up to yourself and you actually maybe admit some things to yourself that you've been suppressing for quite a while. And I know that's been true for me. And I've cried doing it, like no shame there. I've cried doing it. I'm like, quick example was my last season of competing in CrossFit. I had this goal of I want to qualify for the German throwdown one last time, and then I'm done. And then I did the 7 layers exercise on myself. And I was like, why is that so important, bro? Like you can't let it go. Like, what is it about it? And I did the 7 layers exercise, and I realized that my parents were separating at the time. And I had a burning desire for them to come and watch me at one last sporting event, one last time together. Wow. That hit hard. And I trained for 10 months purely for that competition. I didn't do any other competitions that year. I periodized my whole training just around that one competition. And it was a piece of piss. I would go into the gym on a Sunday afternoon on my own, leave my girlfriend at home to finish my squat sessions and that. Not a second thought about it, because I had a really strong, deep emotional reason why.
On that, actually, do you think like someone can get to a certain level in their career without that strong reason why? Or like how, to what extent, and I guess to what sort of, yeah, actually, to what extent do you think like they're going to be actually hindered by not having a strong reason why? Because I feel that shows up with many people. They get to that 10K, which in this industry is just kind of like, being thrown around a lot. They get to that point and they don't feel any sort of fulfillment. Do you think it's because they don't have that strong reason why, or and that's what
I
hindering from that 20K and beyond?
I can speak for others, but from my observation, I think you can get to $1 billion company without having a strong reason why. What I think, what from my observation of that is that if you don't have a strong reason why, you will be suffering inside, because you will be not answering, you'll be ignoring some unanswered questions, and you will be sacrificing in other areas of life, and you'll be driven by what I call dirty fuel. And so in the beginning of my career, I was in sales to get out of debt. I was in sales to get out of a bad situation. And that got me pretty fucking far, right? But it was dirty fuel, because I had this burning sensation of I need to achieve this. Now, in sales, a lot of salespeople will get caught up by I need to make a change. I need to make a change is actually, I always challenge that, because we all know that we need to eat healthy and go to the gym, but there are those that do and there are those that don't. What's the difference? There are those that want to and there are those that don't want to. And so I wasn't doing this because I wanted to. I was doing it because I felt I needed to, so I could regain some sense of self-worth, so I could regain some confidence, and I could be viewed in the eyes of other people as successful. That'll get you so far, but it was dirty fuel, and I was driven by anxiety, stress, cracking the whip, really forcing myself to do things. And once I just drained the engine of all this I need to, and refilled it with what I want to do, and knowing why I wanted to do it, man, that took me to the next level. I do feel you can get very, very far on dirty fuel, but the energy and the lightness with which I do things now, man, like I wouldn't have been so much fucking fun to talk to a couple of years ago, lads. Like, honest to God, like I was an angry motherfucker. But now there's this lightness to what I do. I love it. I just enjoy all of it because I want to be doing it and I know why I'm doing it. Big, big difference.
Interesting.
Were you? I'm curious for this. Were you using that dirty fuel when you were living the nomad lifestyle? Like, when you first started in the hostels?
Yeah. Oh,
How
yeah.
how did you connect that?
How did I?
How did you connect it?
It wasn't
Because
like
I'll expand on it, because typically what I see is people all jump into this space with the idea, of make money for 4 to 5 calls on a daily basis. You just serve on the rest and you just travel around the world. We all know not really that many people actually go and live that lifestyle, but you're an example of someone that actually did it and keeps doing it, right? So I was thinking maybe you had that, like when you mentioned that the dirty fuel, I was thinking maybe you had that state where you were doing that as well, but it seems like you were doing that from the very beginning.
Yeah,
Connected.
no, very much so. It wasn't until much later that I realized it. It wasn't until last year, literally like 12 months ago, that I was just working with a mindfulness coach, phenomenal dude called Dan Goldfield. My God, like it's incredibly difficult to explain what Dan does. But he's someone, he comes from Bristol, from England, where I come from. He's lived with monks, he's done all that kind of stuff. And man, I worked with that guy for the best part of a year, and just all I did was just speak to him once a week. And I don't know, I think I asked him once, like, Dan, like, what do you do? Because we just hop on here and chat shit. And he was like, maybe I'll tell you one day. And he never did. But essentially, he helped me realize that there's not two of us. And so there was Adam doing the thing and Adam cracking the whip. There was this Adam, and then there was Adam pushing up a hill. And he helped me realize and understand that all we are is awareness. That's literally the kind of like the final unit of everything. Everything arises within our sphere of awareness, all material things, emotions, thoughts, and that's all we are. And so he helped me then become aware of this guy who was just fucking flogging me every single day. Be better, be more disciplined. You lazy bastard, if you didn't get up out of bed today. You didn't go to the gym, motherfucker. I'm punishing you with fucking 2 days of depression now because you're so worthless. And he helped me be aware of this. And then he was like, okay, if that were the programming, if you were to build a robot and you were to program that line of code in there, would you? I was like, no, that would be fucking horrible. He's like, so why are you doing it to yourself, brother? I was like, I don't know. And so he just helped me become aware of it, which then dissipated it, left this awful gaping hole for about 4 weeks where I literally did not want to get out of bed for a single second of the day, where I was like, well, what's the point in even like getting out of bed then? What's the point in showering? What's the point in anything? But slowly but surely, these things started creeping back in to where I was like, might actually feel kind of nice to go to the gym and move around a little bit now. I was like, oh, there's a want, not a need. There you go. Let's fuel that. It was a really painful process, not gonna lie, but super transformational. Dan Goldfield for anybody that wants to go and work with someone who's going to help them with this kind of stuff. Like, changed my life, literally.
It's interesting on that because, sorry, Sam, just want to add on top of it. When we get into the space, all of us, we know it's like majority of what gets glorified in the space is hustling, right? Like you gotta hustle, you gotta be on top of your game every single fucking time, to the point where you actually start feeling to yourself like, oh, you used to, pardon the language, you're just a piece of shit. Like you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you miss your morning routine, and that starts negatively affecting your mindset. And it's just like, I feel at some point you just get to, like, you either suffer through it and you just keep fueling that bad feel, or just entirely collapse, right? What I guess, like, what do you feel is going to be like the healthy mixture of, because you still got to hustle obviously, but how would you, and what has worked for you to actually, besides Dan, to actually find that good balance, I guess?
Reframing why I was doing it. So now we're coming back to why. So after this, there was a period where I was running a sales team last year, and I needed to recruit and hire 2 more reps. And I'd been through a bit of a cycle of this. I was a little bit tired of it, to be honest. I was like, oh, God, gotta go and fucking
Was it the time that we met?
may have been around that time, maybe around that time, maybe a little bit earlier. But I remember I was procrastinating on it. I was like, oh, I've got to go and put all this effort into training them again and getting them ramped up. And oh God. So I was procrastinating on it. And so I was talking to Dan about this. And he said, clever bastard. He said, okay, so yeah, why do you feel you procrastinating on it? I was like, oh, I don't know. I was just like, got to go through it again, and it's just a lot of time and energy that I pour into these guys, because like I don't think we've worked together, but like when I worked with someone, like I pour it, like from that rugby back.
I've heard from Jonathan, it's top tier.
Yeah, I just coming from that rugby background, like if we wear the same color shirt, I'll die for you. It's done. No questions asked. Like whatever, I'll just do whatever I need to do for you. Just something I was brought up with. So I was like, I'm gonna go through all this again. And he said, okay, well, why have you hired some reps in the past? And I was like, well, obviously because we, to grow the company, and because we got the lead flow, and to, grow revenue and this, that, and the other. And he's like, okay. And so do you feel that some of the reps that you've hired in the past have done well on the offer? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, my guys fucking love working here. He's like, okay, well, what if there are 2 or 3 more of those out there who are on a shit offer with a shitty sales manager in a shit environment, with nobody helping them, nobody training them, nobody looking after them, who could absolutely flourish and could actually start enjoying themselves again on your team? I was like, ah, oh, bastard. That was it. I got to do it now. And so he reframed why I was doing it. It wasn't to grow the company and grow my income and grow fucking anybody. It wasn't about the money. It was about stewardship. It was about me knowing that I've created an environment that people really enjoy working in, that enjoy their sales, who are progressing, who are learning, who are vibing with a great culture, and bringing them into my flock. And I was like, no. And that was it. Got off the call, got to work, because I had a different why. I knew why I was doing it. And so for anybody listening, if you are finding for yourself that you're having to really push yourself so hard to do the things that you think you should be doing, number one, be very, very careful when the word should comes up in your mind. Stop and think, why did I just say that to myself? Who says I should? Do I want to be doing it? And if you can reframe why you're doing it and find a higher purpose that really resonates with yourself, it might be money, because you might have a really strong reason why you want to make that money to give it back into something else that's really meaningful for you. It wasn't for me. I've been broke. I've had a lot of money. I've been really, 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 really happy over here, really, really sad over there. It didn't change anything for me. So I know that that's not just a big driver, but stewardship is something that's really important to me. And so I just reframed it into that.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
Now I wish I got on that offer.
I'm sure paths will cross again. Nomadic Clothes has got a few accounts running, so don't you worry.
That's tough.
That's I really like your emphasis on like why we're doing all of this, because like when all of us take sales calls, that is kind of our focus with people that we speak with, is really diving into that, because we know that that is going to determine whether or not they're willing to go through the sacrifices that they need to be making to get themselves there. Um, I
Actually, here's the point. They need to be making, or do they want to be making those?
Right, exactly. So, well, regardless, you do need to make sacrifices to achieve a
Oh
goal.
yeah, of
It's
course.
just determining whether or not your why is strong enough for you to overcome those things. Um, I think this kind of pulls back to me a little bit. I got complacent at the start of this year a little bit. Um, and I thought I'd be okay with just coasting on where I was. Um, but there was like some weird feeling I had where it just didn't feel right. And I'm still working through it too, because I know there's a lot. Noticing your 7 layers thing, I'm going to start doing that because I've never done that before. But I just noticed some weird thing where I, it didn't feel right for me to just stay still and complacent where I was, at least professionally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so,
That
yeah,
would be a
yeah,
very interesting topic for you to go 7 layers deep on,
yeah,
because there's two outcomes to that from my anecdotal personal experience. There's two outcomes. One could be that there's a underlying built-in programmed sense of self-worth in somebody's eyes that is
yeah,
not being fulfilled if you're not pushing hard and like, nose to the grinder and beating, like killing yourself every day.
yeah,
And that's something to be very mindful of. Or it could be an underlying growth is something that's super important to me. And I really enjoy the feeling of progressing and growing and achieving the next level. And then there will need to be another why underneath that. Like, why is that so important to you? But it could be a positive, or it could be a quote unquote negative. And I don't like the words positive, negative, right, wrong, because they're all very human constructed thought concepts, thought patterns. But very, very interesting exercise for you to go through.
yeah. That reminds me of that reel you went about where there's no good or bad days. It's it's all that frequency stuff that you mentioned. What exactly is that?
Vibrational frequency chart. Once you understand the vibrational frequency chart, you understand half of life. It's crazy. And so everything is E equals mc squared. All matter is energy. The smallest known measurable unit is called a quark. It's smaller than an atom and neurons and all this kind of stuff. And it's basically just it's energy. It's vibrating. And so this table, this laptop, like, we are all vibrating right now. Everything that seems solid is not. It's just vibrating. It's vibrating on a lower frequency than, say, for example, a gas or a ray of light that you can't actually kind of physically see with your eyes. And so we are vibrating on a certain frequency as well. And these different frequencies of which on we vibrate correlate and correspond to an emotional state as well. And so low frequency states, the very lowest vibrational frequency state of a human is shame. After that comes grief, apathy, fear, desire comes just after fear. I may be skipping one or two, but fear and then desire. Desire is a low frequency state. And I explain why. Desire is essentially lack. I want something, but I don't have it. It's a low frequency state. I'm here, and that thing that I desire is up here. I'm lower than it. I'm signing a contract with myself to be unhappy until I get what I want. It's a low frequency state. And you'll have seen this on sales calls. You'll have seen this on sales calls with the kid that hops on and wants to make 50K a month for the next 30 days, and he wants the Ferrari, and he wants the house, and he wants this, and he wants that. They never buy. They never buy. Don't, right? They never buy, do they?
Absolutely.
No.
Why? Because they're vibrating on a low frequency. Okay. So after desire, I think there's anger, pride. And it's not until you get to a state of courage, which is sort of a mid-level frequency, that people can make a purchasing decision. All of these lower frequency states are what's called a contracted state. You'll be in a mode of scarcity, of fear, of contraction, where you won't make change or won't make a move. After you get past the state of courage, there's courage, neutrality, acceptance, willingness, love, peace, enlightenment, I believe. All of these are expanded states. And so you'll often see this where you will be thinking about a problem, be thinking about an issue, and you'll go for a walk, you'll go for a gym, go to the gym, you'll just go and have a coffee with a good friend. And afterwards, suddenly the problem doesn't seem so bad anymore. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to bother you anymore. Either it goes away or you just see the solution of it. And all you've done by going for a walk, going to the gym, having a good time with a friend, is you've raised your frequency. You've raised your state. And so the world is not as it is as you are. And once you figure that out, oh my God, it brings all the power back to you. And so we're never in a bad mood or in a good mood. We're just vibrating on a low frequency or on a high frequency. Drop down and bust out 10 burpees, 30 push-ups, whatever you want to do. I guarantee the problem will seem a little bit smaller. It'll seem a little bit better. You ever seen anybody leave the gym and like with their brow furrowed and like slamming doors and shit? Never. Everybody's holding the door for each other, aren't they? Have a great day. See you later. Big smile on their face. All they've done is raise their frequency. And so once you start understanding this in the sales context, things start clicking as well.
I was actually going to ask you on that, Adam, because I'm in the middle of doing a Joe Dispenza course now, and I'm starting to learn about all this for the first time. And like I was giving out the frequency of abundance the other day, and I had like, had a pretty solid day, closed 3 out of 4 deals, and I credited it to that. I guess what do you think is more important? Because I know in one of your reels you talk about how salespeople, they're all broke, right? And as soon as they get money, they want to invest it into a course, add another course, add another course. And I've been guilty of that. Like, let's say, do you think it's more important to invest in sales training or actually work on the inner game? Because as you mentioned, your inner game, your outer world is dictated by your inner world.
It depends on what you need.
Mm-hmm. How do you mean?
Depends on what you need. So for me, if I'm looking at a sales rep and they're not doing as well as they normally have, there's 2 things we've got to look at. There's energy and there's skill. So the first thing I will look at is energy. And energy I'll just categorize in physiology, clarity, and inspiration. I kind of call it. I don't have a better word for it. Physiology is like, dude, are you sleeping? Are you going to the gym? Are you like doing a bit of yoga in the mornings? Are you going for walks? Are you moving around? Are you eating out? Like, what are you eating? 9 times out of 10, you fix that, like your sales calls will start getting better. If that's all ticked off and all that's dialed in, clarity, do you know why you're still doing this? Are you still connected to that? Like, are you still deeply connected to why you're even bothering helping these kind of people solve these kind of problems? Are you still clear on why you feel strongly convicted on this offer? If not, then we've got to reconnect with that or establish that we just ain't feeling it anymore. And that's fine. That's completely okay. And last thing is inspiration. Is what is your mental diet look like? Meaning who you're hanging around. Have you got a negative environment at home? Is something going on at home with your missus, with your family, with a friend? Are you listening to the radio? Are you watching like Netflix horror movies at night? Like it has a really big effect on your mindset, on your energy, on like, and that's just purely energy, right? So there's a few things I'll kind of tick off over there. On the skill side, depends a little on the offer, but very overarching meta stage is what I'll look at is, do you understand what to say? This is the first level. Do you understand, like, are you following a process or a system? I'm not a big fan of forcing scripts on people, but if I have a framework that I know works, like, do you know it? Are you deviating from it? The second thing is, do you deeply understand why we are asking these questions in this order, in this way? Do you understand what you're trying to elicit from this person? And the third thing I'll look at is, are you deeply understanding what you're hearing? So if I'm reviewing a call and you're asking the right things and you really know why, but you're not hearing some red flags from this person's mindset, not the words coming out of their mouth, but what's going on back there, then you're going to struggle. Those are like the overarching energy and skill aspects that I'll look at. Now, if your skill level's top notch, but you're just not looking after yourself and you're not working, you're not working on your mindset, you're not understanding this inner game, your energy levels, etc., then we gotta start there. If all this is great, but you don't know what you're doing on a call, let's start there. So I
Okay.
don't think it's one of those which is more important. It's which one do you need?
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I guess just on that, like how much skill training do you think someone actually needs to be competent in sales? Because everyone's always saying, "Oh, do my course, do my program. Oh, you did NEBQ, that's crap. Do this. You did UCM, that's crap. Do the objection box. Oh, you did the objection box, that's crap." Like, how many trainings do you think someone actually needs to go through to actually have a good level of competency in sales?
Mm. It's a very difficult question to answer because what constitutes as need? When is that need fulfilled? So when you say how much does one need, how
Yeah.
are we qualifying need? I think I know what you're getting after though, is at what point do you need more sales training, or at what point have you had enough?
Correct.
So I think the way that this ties back into a question you asked earlier on, or you mentioned briefly that most salespeople are broke. As soon as they make a bit of money, they'll invest it into the next course.
Hmm.
I believe a lot of them trick themselves into calling it an abundance mindset when it's actually a desire. They're actually in a state of desire, and they're in a
Wow.
state of, oh, yeah. I believe they're in a state of FOMO that if I don't do this training, I'm not going to make the next level. I'm not going to make more money. I'm going to get stuck. And then all these guys are going to know this is the stuff that I don't know. And they're in a state of desire. I think they're tricking themselves, but spend freely and money will come freely to me. Why is your bank account empty, my friend? Like, why?
Yeah.
Explain that to me, huh, Mr. Abundance. I don't want to poo-poo it, but I think we trick ourselves. And but like, Lord knows I've been there, right? Lord knows I've been there. So I think I do believe that you should take as much sales training as you can. Now, I think also you should have a system, a financial system behind when you invest and when you don't, so that you don't put yourself in a perilous situation to now, I need to make an ROI on this sales training. Otherwise, I don't know how I'm going to make rent. So that I have a YouTube video on where I break that down fully. The reason I think, in my opinion, people should take as much sales training as they can is because all you're doing is widening your armory. You're picking up more weapons in the video game of life, aren't you? Right? You start with the pistol and the knife in whatever fucking role play game that you guys play. I don't know what people play anymore. And then you pick up the shotgun, don't you? And then you got the machine gun, and then you got the bazooka, and then you're picking up the grenades, and now you're picking up the smoke bombs, and now you're just adding tools to your armory. Where I think the danger comes is when we take sales training and believe that to be now gospel and the only sales training I'll ever need, until I hop onto the next program, like, oh my goodness, that was useless. This is the only one that I need. I think that's a very dangerous mindset and a very limiting mindset. What I like to do is, when I'm learning from someone, is I really want to understand the principles, because the tactics can change. But if I understand their thought pattern, their thought process, and I can pick the principles that resonate with me and where I'm lacking, I can now pick the best principles from Bill Walsh, from Jeremy Miner, from Matt Ryder, from Michael Dunleavy, from whoever's out there. And I can now create something that really resonates and sits with me without Frankensteining it. Frankensteining it would be for me, to answer your question, Sam. Frankensteining for me would be cobbling together tactics. That can't work. That's base level sales knowledge, knowing what to say. I need to get to a place of understanding why I'm saying it and really deeply understanding what I'm hearing. I can only do that if I look at principles.
I really resonate with that, because for me the biggest change, and for me the biggest change came when I first got to know Bill. It was like 3 months in, and by that point I understood everything. I understood the framework. I knew what to say, but I didn't know why I was saying it. And it's like once you actually have that deeper conversation with yourself, you understand the principles behind it, and you can then apply it to pretty much any other sales framework. You know what you're looking for. And I think it's the other thing. It's like one I guess piece of feedback I got from what you just said is, at some point a training is going to become obsolete, because it gets so good that everyone is going to use it. And then the people that will truly stand out, and we've seen that with NAPQ, because people still close like crazy with NAPQ. It's, I feel for those people, it's just the message behind it. What are you actually asking? Why are you asking this? And that's it's just that having that deeper understanding of what you ask, and then you just don't sound like everyone else, because it works as a tactic for a bit, but then people, the rest of them catch up, right?
Yeah, and what I want to really kind of underline and double underline and underscore is the third level is understanding what you're hearing. The best sales reps I know have an uncanny ability to listen to the words that come out of someone's mouth and immediately hear their mindset. They can hear the limiting beliefs behind the things that they're saying. It's great. And I wish I knew how to coach this better. I can coach it on calls, reviewing calls. You see, when he said that, what he really meant was this, because see how he brought it up there and then that happened. I don't know how you learn it other than kind of life skills, life experience, and just really like just studying that and just listening out for it. I was just coaching one of my mentees on the weekend, and he's a very good sales rep, a very naturally good sales rep. And when he was with me at the offer I was running last year, I would often review calls, and he blew all the records out of the water. And I was like, John, I don't know what you're doing, bro. I don't know. Like, it looks terrible, and people just keep saying yes to you, so just keep doing what you're doing. So, funnily enough, he moved over to Cole Gordon's team, top of the leaderboard first month. Cole Gordon himself was reviewing a call of his, and he said, John, listen, dude, I don't know what you're doing because it's fucking terrible, but people keep saying yes, so keep doing what you're doing. And so second month, he had a dip. And so we were talking about it, and he was going through the motions on a why now question. And so when we ask a why now question, what we're really looking for is a slightly deeper layer of emotion as to why you really want to do this now, other than the surface level, the money, the success, whatever, right? Now, what I teach my guys to listen out for in the third level of knowing what you're hearing is filter their answer of a why now question through the lens of, is this an internal or an external answer? What I mean by that is this. An external answer will sound like, I have more time on my hands now. I've got I'm leaving my job in 2 weeks. The market is the right time for it. I don't know. I've got some money coming in. Anything. External answers. And if you skip over it and say, okay, cool, and then you move on to the next question, you've got nowhere. You've not achieved what you were trying to achieve with the question. So you've got to be listening out and filtering this. Is this an internal or an external answer? And then if it's an external, okay, cool. I mean, obviously, it's great that you got a little bit more time in your hands now, but of course you could go in, just learn to play the guitar at that time, couldn't you? So like, just put in the time aspect over there a second. What is it that kind of shifted for you like internally recently that made you really want to, move forward with something like this? What I want to hear is I'm tired, I'm sick of, I really want to do this for these reasons. I want an internal answer. And so those are just little things that I look for when I'm looking at what am I hearing? And the more of the conversation that is external, the less likely they will buy at the end.
That is so interesting. And that is so interesting. I'll expand on it why I think it's interesting. We had that conversation with Sam because I was trying to pinpoint what has actually happened to me. Because one of the offers I operate on is I guess non-ROI. It's a language coaching offer. So it's like for me, if I don't have a strong enough reason why, these guys will never buy. Like there's no matter what. So it's like I almost don't move until I actually understand that this is that internal thing. And something I do, which now you gave me a good reframe as well, but I tend to give people stories of someone that actually exudes that sort of behavior and exudes that sort of internal motivation. But that's so funny you should mention that. We literally spoke about it yesterday with Sam.
Yeah. I think probably one of the most powerful so one of the most powerful frames that you can use in a sales call, and it works so well, it feels manipulative when you start using it. But I'll explain why it's not. I actually taught this to a guy on an offer, and he said, Adam, I don't feel comfortable doing this. And I had to explain to him deeply why we're doing it. It's the identity frame. And so the identity frame, played around with where to place it in a call. It seems to work now well with the objection box framework between a why now and a future pace. You can weave it in as it comes up in the conversation, but an identity frame is essentially labeling someone with the identity of who they need to be and become to make the purchase, not for you to make the sale. And that's the big difference. And the way you do it is by acknowledging, saying, I have to say, Sam, kind of like just between you and I, you are my favorite kind of person to work with. And the first thing you do is you make an enemy of the person you don't want them to be. And if you can label things that they have also been doing that have been hindering their success, but you talk about other people, it hits super hard. And the way you do it is because you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I speak to, and then you just list off all of the things, who have these goals, but then they just, kick it down the can for a week or two, say they want to go and think about it. And then, I speak to them a year later, and they're in exactly the same place. Or, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that I speak to that this could be from a triage to a demo call that, they say that they're super interested and that it sounds like a great opportunity. And then they just they book in another call with me and they don't even show up. Like it's bananas. I can't even, it's so sad, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because then nothing changes. You speak to them again a month, 3 months later, and there's nothing changing. But it's people like yourself who ascribe them with all of the, who see a good opportunity and they move on it. They know that success takes action and they're really, dedicated to their goals and all these kinds of things. You just label them with the identity that they need to be to make the purchase. And then you just wrap it up with or am I like way left field here? And you just kind of like, would that be fair to say? Or am I just like almost apologetic? Like, or am I just like way left field here? So now they come in and rescue you and say, no, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And so now we've agreed on this identity that we have, and two things will happen. You get more yeses, or you get more people hang up at payment. I saw a dramatic increase of this on the offer that I was running once that happened. We saw an increase in this, but the other thing that increased was people hanging up at payment because they have no way to go. They cannot now be so incongruent with this amazing identity that we've labeled myself. All I can do is just hit the end button and get out of it. It's crazy. Very, very powerful tool.
That is there's so many golden nuggets that you shared. It's I was thinking we're just gonna talk about just the inner work, but on the sales and that's so hitting. And I guess us kind of being new to this space, right? Like there's some things that we do, but we can't really identify the things that we do right. And sometimes you feel like, because I've been recently turning a lot of the calls just into laydowns and not really having that many objections at the end, and it's kind of listening to what you just said. Now it's like, okay, shit, I actually do that. What you just described is what I do. But until someone actually points it out that actually has that knowledge, you're never gonna actually know what are gonna be the good habits. So like, what would you say on that end actually? Because let's say someone doesn't have someone as amazing as you as a sales manager, or someone that has the chance like us to have that conversation with you. What can they actually do on that daily basis? Maybe when they review their calls, to actually look out for those tiny needle movers that actually make or break the deal, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not that cool, but thanks.
You go.
Reviewing your own calls is one of the most painful things that you will ever put yourself through in life, by childbirth. By childbirth, so they say. It's excruciating, and I know for a fact all of the top guys all did it and do it religiously. And it's something that I did as well without anybody telling me to, because I didn't have anybody else to turn to. I know for a fact all the top names in the industry, all of them, and I know, reviewed their calls religiously. So just starting doing that is the first thing. You will naturally hear things happen if you do it properly, if you actually listen to these calls. The second thing I would say is, because that's very general, it's like just listen to the call. It's like, okay, but Adam, what am I listening to? What am I listening out for? The second thing I would listen out for is I would filter the conversation through, is this an internal or an external conversation? Now, this goes particularly for if you are selling a done with you coaching style program. If it's a done for, like, because we kind of specialize now in very high ticket done for you e-com trading kind of offers, like, you know, 35K and above tickets. It's a little different because there is an element of logistics that we have to handle, but at some point I do want to have some form of internal conversation. So filter the conversation through, are we talking about external conditions, time, people, finances, resources? Or are we having a conversation about internal feeling, perception, perspectives, internal life situations? The more you have an internal conversation, the higher likelihood you will have of connecting with the person deeply enough for them to feel comfortable making a decision with you, whether that be moving forward or not. I will say that. And the third thing I would be looking out for is, if you're not in a position where you've had an abundance of sales training, you should at least know what the top guy on your offer is doing, what that framework looks like, why he's doing it that way, and what the deeper reasons are for him. You really want to know that. And so if you can then be listening out for, does this feel and sound like that? You will start seeing comparisons. If you're doing a completely different process, it's very, very hard to do that. But if you are in a position where you might not, you might be starting out, first offer, then what I would say is listen to your calls first and foremost. Listen to if you're having an external or internal conversation, and then listen and compare. Does this feel and sound like those conversations that top of the leaderboard is having? Those would be the three things I'd look for.
Very powerful. Before I ask another questions, any of you guys want to ask Adam something? Because I have so many questions on that.
Nah, Sam, fire away. I was going to say, because I know it's getting to the top of the hour, and I just want to be cautious of his time. So I guess, Sam, if you just want to ask whatever questions you have, and then yeah, I guess we'll see where we go.
My question was to predominantly ask about the guys that you see on your offers, the guys that actually exceed, and not only just closing, because the topic that we wanted to touch with you on is essentially something that you do yourself. It's like there's not just closing, like there's levels beyond closing, right? Like there's sales management, there's obviously something that you do right now, networking, building that personal brand. But that's not the typical route for people, right? Like, I mean, there's people that just simply always stay as closers for their own reasons, obviously. But I feel the people that are more on the ambitious side, they always want to move up, right? What do you say is kind of like the characteristic, if there even is like a common characteristic for those people that actually go on that route?
Love this topic. Extreme, painfully extreme responsibility. It's heartbreaking. It's so painful sometimes to take extreme ownership for your results or lack thereof. To not let any creeping thought in that because of the leads, because of the offer, because of the marketing, because of the prices, because of the economy, because of my sales manager, because of my upbringing, because of my environment, because of my laptop, because of my fucking internet connection. I don't give a. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course
Yeah,
you
of
can.
course.
Yeah.
I
We're kind of
don't
all
give
in
a
that
fuck.
situation.
Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a flying fuck. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. The only thing you can do is take extreme ownership. And those that do seem to grow into other positions or other endeavors outside of closing, across the board, all have that trait. They take extreme ownership and they won't even let you talk them into maybe there was something else at play here. They were like, maybe, but who cares? They genuinely have that trait. The other trait that they have is they give without ever expecting anything in return. All of them. They never enter an offer, enter a team, enter an environment, enter a circle of friends, ever thinking about what they can get out of it. They're only looking at what can I give to this? How can I contribute? How can I raise my standards to raise other people's standards? And so what they do is they operate in this weird bubble of energy that's going out. What I mean by that is because of that extreme ownership, they operate in a bubble where no external circumstance or situation will deter their energy, their internal state, their standards, the standards that they uphold. They won't let them in. But all of this giving energy is going out of this bubble. Does that resonate? Have you guys met those kind of people?
Yeah, we have.
I think for
Mm-hmm.
me, because I'm kind of a little bit like that, but what I've recently found, and I don't know, maybe it is a limiting belief, so I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Because what I find myself sometimes doing is I try and contribute to those other areas, like maybe fix something with marketing, maybe try and fix something on the fulfillment end, anything like that. And I sometimes find when I'm not in the right environment,
Mm-hmm.
that just doesn't get seen and that just goes unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes feel that's literally recently something that we've done on our previous offer. We helped the offer owners completely change the VSL on, because it was crap, but we just got nothing for it. Matter of fact, we ended up leaving that offer because the alignment just wasn't there. So
Mm-hmm.
my question is, how do you go about figuring out whether you should help this person or whether you shouldn't? Because I wanna help out people and I want to give them feedback. And one of the things that I caught myself doing, and I said it this to Sam, is like, this is that big not revelation for me.
Uh-huh.
I caught myself wanting to do it again for someone that I felt didn't deserve it. You know?
Okay. I may have to
Yeah, I
uh
went on a tangent.
no, that's perfect. It's perfect. Because I believe this is the worry or concern of a lot of people. If I become that person, like where does that start and where does that end in being taken advantage of? So notice that I said that they give, and I may need to redefine that word and find a better word. I didn't say help or fix. Unsolicited help is patronizing.
Yeah.
There is an underlying tone of I am here and you are here, which you do not mean by any means, but is subconsciously perceived. And it'll be met with either acceptance, which is kind of just laying over and just like, okay, whatever, or resistance. So when I say giving, I may need to find a better term for this. So this is a really good conversation. What I mean by that is you uphold such good standards and such a high frequency yourself that it emanates and it rubs off on other people until you are asked for help. And so the reason I say this is I don't know any clever, smart networking side door tactics to receive the opportunities that I've received in my career. Being asked by Bill to come in and coach for the objection box was a massive career changer for me, a life-changing opportunity. I never fucking asked him for it. He came to me purely because I helped him with something early on in the objection box that he didn't ask for, and I was just giving some feedback as a client. And I said, if you want me to go and do that for you, that's completely fine. But it was just like a little bit of feedback from my own user experience. And he was like, well, go and do it then. And I was like, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, there we are. Then my first sales management position, I actually closed on the offer. And all I did was just be there, just fucking like turn up, just show up, just give out, just like not hold back anything. I just gave. And when I left, he asked me what, is there anything that would help me stay? I said, no, I got this really good opportunity over here. And then he circled back a couple of months later, offering me the position of sales manager, just purely through my energy and my and what I gave to the offer in the short. I was only there for 2 weeks, right?
Wow.
But what I
That's
wasn't,
crazy.
I closed there for 2 weeks. But what I didn't do is say, hey, I think you should fix this. I shouldn't think you should fix that. I just showed up with this energy, with this at a high frequency. And I don't know, I've been asked these opportunities. So
And it,
I was forced to ask myself the question, like, why did I get these opportunities and others didn't? What were the commonalities so I can maybe help someone else
yeah.
who wants to go on that trajectory? Because at first I was like, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, people just ask me. I don't know. But I was like,
And I think and I think you just described it, because it's like, see, I looked at it like, oh, I just gotta help, I just gotta do this. It's like, no, you give, and you give like essentially subconsciously, you just show up, and you just show up to that
mhm.
specific extent where it just literally rubs off of you.
Yeah. I'll
Sounds
give you an
weird, but
example from sports. The captains, people in leadership roles, captains, are not typically the ones on the field shouting, hey, you should do this better, you should have done that better. They're the ones that are saying, I should have done this better, and I'm going to do it better. And then people will follow.
yeah.
And that's sort of, I think there's an element of natural leadership. I do think it's a learnable skill, but I just also seem to be always, captain or vice captain of sports teams. But I like I said, I really wanted to deconstruct, like, why me and not someone else, so that somebody can make a conscious, somebody who may not have that natural inclination can still make a conscious effort and learn those kind of skills or traits or attributes. I'm not saying that that's good or bad. It's just, if somebody wants to go a similar path that I have, then that's all I can tell them. I can't tell them any smart cold outreach, DM, side door networking. I don't know. Just show up as the best version of yourself. Never complain about jack shit, nothing. Hold yourself to very high standards and have very low expectations of everybody and everything around you. Not pessimistic low expectations, just low expectations. That's
Yeah.
it.
I love that, man.
Mm.
I wish we could have gone on for longer, because I literally have to. I'm running late on a call, and 10 minutes actually.
Oh, how the
um,
tables have turned. Me taking time out of your days, huh? You
no,
poor
it's all worth it. It's so worth it to me. That's I got so many golden nuggets, and it solidified so many things. I would really want to see in the future when you guys are in Cape Town. Definitely
Same here,
wanna.
actually. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I would
really
definitely
like
wanna
that.
see that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Keep an eye out. The Nomadic Closer House is going to do a bit of a world tour. And yeah, as I was mentioning to you guys before we hit record, long-term vision of that is for us to have different houses all around the world, in Medellin, in Cape Town, in Bali, and in Europe. And that be an ongoing thing. You come stay for 3, 6, or 12 months, and you can come and co-live with some fucking badass dudes. Up until then, we'll have these 4-week experiences. So you will definitely be hearing about it. You'll be seeing all about Medellin. We'll be creating the biggest FOMO in the sales space that's ever been seen.
I'm already getting FOMO.
And we'll be tripling the price. That kidding. No, yeah. No, you guys will be hearing about it. You're all more than welcome.
Okay. Awesome.
I'll leave it to the boys to really ask some last sort of questions that they have for you. For me, I gotta jump, Adam. It was such a massive pleasure. I got to know you even a little bit better, because in this space we see each other quite a lot, but obviously not to that point.
Cool.
Really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you sharing some of those things. I'm gonna start applying this, especially on the mindset department, especially on really taking the web how did you call it?
Way of
Yeah, the
life.
web of life
Yeah.
expand, because definitely there's some areas that I'm not really focusing on. But yeah,
Let me know how it
we'll,
goes. Send me a message.
take care of it in Cape Town.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate you
Bye
guys.
bye, man.
Bye bye.
Mhm.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye. Sam, any last questions?
Um, man, I think this one's going on a tangent, but I'm
Love tangent.
really, yeah, I'm really curious on your perspective, and I'm if it's gonna take too much time, that's fine if we don't cover it. I'm wondering if you had to do it briefly, how do you normally describe to people why identity frames aren't manipulative?
How I explain why they're not
Right. Yeah.
is I'll sum it up in a sentence.
Yeah.
You're helping them adopt the identity of the person needed to make the purchase, not the person you need them to be to make the sale.
Okay.
And so I will expand.
Yeah. Yeah.
If what you're selling actually gets good results for people, actually helps them change the trajectory of their lives, actually makes a marked difference in their life, then they should buy, shouldn't they?
Right.
And yet, if you close at 25%, 7.5 people out of 10 that you talk to don't. And that's a shame. And so one of the reasons why they don't buy could potentially be that they are not yet the person needed to be to have the courage, the willingness, almost the neutrality, high frequency states,
Right.
to have the courage to make the purchase. And so we may be talking to them in a way that we've handled the sales conversation that's dug so much on pain that they've spiraled into a state of shame, of guilt, of apathy,
Mm.
fear. Maybe we've got them up to desire. Maybe we've bullied them back into fear. Maybe they've spiraled up into pride where they've now started arguing with us or started resisting our questions. All low frequency states. And so if they're stuck there, we have to help them adopt the identity of the person who has the courage, the acceptance, the willingness, the neutrality, high frequency states, to have the courage to make the purchase. You guys have obviously invested in a ton of sales training and different things into yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Was the first one the hardest or the easiest?
Hardest.
Why was it the hardest?
Because you have to give your money and you have to become that person you want to be in order to. Because before it's your 9 to 5, that average, and to go from 9 to 5 to where you want to be, you've got to change.
Right. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so if we know that to be true, if we're selling B2C, first time investors, we need to help them. We need to help them make that transition. And it's the hardest, it's the scariest. And if you don't know how to help someone make that decision, then their life's going to be no better after meeting you. And your bank account ain't going to be no better after meeting. Let's face it. Let's face it. Nobody wins. Nobody
Yeah,
wins.
no one wins.
And there are nice guys and there are good men. Only one of them gets the job done in sales. So we have to really know the difference and know how to help them. And so that is why, for me, the identity frame is not manipulative. It's just so powerful that it just feels like it initially.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand. We're asking someone, kind of following up on that question. If you want to ask someone to go from being in shame, fear, guilt, and moving their identity up to higher frequencies, can you do it if you operate from a lower frequency yourself? Let's say your natural is shame, guilt, fear.
Nope, you can't. You can't fake energy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Fake energy. Even if you a state of desire because you want to make the sale, you're in a state of fear because you're going to lose the sale. You're in a state of guilt and shame because you don't feel as confident as you should do, because you shouldn't all over yourself, should do on the sales. You can't help someone raise their frequency and their vibration until you are above them. You have to pull them up. It's a belief in energy. It's a belief transference. It's a transference of belief, which is the same as a transference of energy, because a belief is just an energy pattern as well. And so this is where we talk about, detach from the sale. You have to be detached from the sale. Well, it's pretty freaking hard when, your bank account's running low and you're behind projections and your sales manager's breathing down your neck and this person's closable, but you're scared of them slipping away. It's really, really hard. It's super hard. But that's when you got to come back to your why. You got to learn how to detach from the sale. And you can do it very simply just before the call. There's very simple things that you can do. if you're not a big burpee and push-up fan, you can literally just sit there, imagine the person. I mean, if you have a picture of them, you find them on Facebook, even better. You can just imagine them and just kind of sit there and close your eyes and just feel a bit of light coming from your chest, shoot it out, connect it to their chest, and say, this person's on the call to make a change, and I'm here to help them do that. You can call to a higher power if that helps you. God, universe, whatever. Help me detach from the sale. Help me detach from my ego. Help me come from a place of service. And then crack on. It can be as simple as that. If you really feel it, it will change your state. It will change your frame of mind, your energy coming onto the call.
Yeah, it's so important to actually detach from the sale, because I've been starting to learn that now myself. Because if you're coming from that state of need and want, then you're never going to get there, right? Because you're just so attached to everything they're saying. Man, that's so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So far.
And I do believe that that will get you pretty far in sales with a not very good script and only knowing, level one of the skill set of just knowing what to ask. I think it'll get you pretty far. It won't get you to, 20, 30, 40K months. Then it's got to couple with a bit of skill. But I do believe that mindset, that energy state, it will get you pretty far in sales.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
I think we'll cap it here then. So Adam, I'm deeply grateful for you being here, and sharing out all that you have been able to on this call. So for everybody listening, there's a lot of actionable steps that were shown here, probably not in a chronological order really, but before doing anything, what I'm going to be doing is definitely diving much deeper into why I want all this, or what's actually the reason behind everything. And then that will help me determine what I want to do at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Again, let me know how it goes.
Yep.
Ask yourself 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, I'm super grateful for you, bringing me onto your platform and sharing me with your audience, because obviously, I love talking about sales. I love talking about this woo-woo stuff, the energy, the everything. But obviously, that's worth nothing if it's just me talking to my 4 walls at home, is it? So I'm grateful for you sharing your audience and trusting me with your audience. And I hope that whoever was listening found some small return on their attention today.
And I guess, where can people find you, Adam? If someone wants to find you, how can they go about doing it?
I'm in Colombia, Medellin, the building code now. So Instagram, Adam_Paul_Taylor. On Facebook, Adam Paul Taylor. And just started my YouTube channel as well, which is surprisingly what is my YouTube channel name? I'm pretty sure it's Adam_Taylor. Let me check it. Oh no, it's Adam_Paul_Taylor. There you go.
All right.
Nice. Well, we'll leave the links below for anyone who wants to click on them and follow you more. But Adam, just want to reiterate what the 2 boys said. Really appreciate you having on, and it was actually probably my favorite podcast we've shot.
You said it there.
No, I genuinely mean it so far. It's probably my favorite podcast so far. So I appreciate you.
I'm down for round 2 if you guys want to bring me back. Very, very.
We'll keep that in mind. Maybe in January when we're all in Cape Town.
There we go. Around the campfire.
That's right.
Good.
That's right. Okay.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate you guys.
See you guys.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Cheers now. Bye-bye.